Okay, so I'm actually letting my husband do this one because he manifested.
I did.
Unlocked the door by himself and saw his mom not breathing with a bag over her head on the ground.
Hi, everybody. I am going to talk about a case that's not really an active case, but it's one that I think needs some attention that has not gotten any. And it's been a case of a woman from right here in the Nashville area. All right, we're going to talk about April Holt today. She's a young lady that passed away almost a year ago in Antioch, Tennessee, just really close to where I'm at right now, under possibly suspicious circumstances. If you haven't already, click on the subscribe button, click on the little bell to get notified, and if you find this video entertaining at the very least or informative, give it a thumbs up. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much. Let's get started. So April Holt, beautiful, gorgeous woman. She was just 29 years old. This case happened almost a year ago. On July 31st is when she passed away. 29 years old. She was born July 6th, 1994. Mother of two. She was an eyelash tech. She even started her own business, eyelash owner in Antioch, Tennessee, which is just south of Nashville, like a suburb of. She was a TikToker with 201,000 followers, 2.7 million likes. I hate to use the word influencer, but she was, let's just say, married to a guy named Donovan Holt. They'd had, bumpy relationship. They got separated. They were about to get divorced, but were still wanting to be BFFs. Two kids, Serenity from a prior relationship and Denzel from the relationship with Donovan. She grew up in Florida, but she was raised in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and then was living in Antioch, Tennessee. Now, Murfreesboro is like 30 to 45 minutes south of Nashville, depending on what part of Nashville you're in. I lived there for quite a long time.
How to help someone else overcome social anxiety. Number 1, listen to how they feel and don't make them feel bad about it. They need someone to just listen sometimes. Number 2, offer small outings, like going to the store together, going on a drive through the city, or even just walking into Starbucks to order versus going through the drive-thru. Start small and don't force them. It's a day-to-day experience, and the small wins will add up to bigger wins. And number 3, ask how they need help during anxiety attacks. Some people need a moment of silence. Some people need to talk it out. Some people have breathing techniques. Everyone is different. So find out what your person needs so you can help them best.
This chick, gorgeous. I mean, all her TikToks are very motivational, inspirational. She had a very spiritual aspect. She really loved, passionately cared about her family. That was a big focus. She, even though she was separated from her husband, they were still doing TikToks together, and they were still living in the same house together. But we'll get to that in a minute. Now, on August 18th of 2018 is when I see her very first TikTok. It's a cute little video with her and her son. Like I said, she was always talking about manifesting, and I mean, super positive, very motivational, very inspirational. Now, on January 20th of 2021, she put out a TikTok that mentioned a separation, and it was them, just having fun together. And they put out another one on October 18th of 2021 mentioning that they're going to get divorced, but they seem very happy, like, oh, we're always going to be best friends. It's not going to be a problem. Here's that TikTok.
Questions for boyfriends about their girlfriend. What is her favorite thing to eat? Does she have her nails done? Does she prefer cuddles or kisses? What does she wear the most? What is her pet peeve? What is her favorite thing for you to do together? What annoys her? What is something you know she loves about you? When is she most moody? What makes her admire you? Would she rather stay in or go out? What is she like when drunk? How often does she need attention? What inspires her? What makes her insecure?
Story time. But I couldn't do it without him because I feel like it's wrong to only put out one side. So, here we go.
Okay, so the story is that we are getting divorced because it was our decision. It's my best friend. I still love her to death. Like, we still got a child together. We still gonna be hanging out. Probably
All
gonna
the
see
time.
her most days of the week. But at the end of the day, we got shit to do. That's it. You feel me? She has a path to go. I got a path to go, but our paths are parallel, and we always gonna be next to each other.
Yeah.
And who's to say what's gonna happen in the future? All that we know is right now. Right now, it's the best. I mean, real talk, it's the best decision for both of us. For her to
It
do what
is.
she needs to
It
do, for
is.
me to do what I need to do. So
So we can grow and heal and
that's it.
elevate. No hard feelings. This is not a messy divorce or anything like that. We don't do that. This is like I said. Like he said, this is my best friend at the end of the day. He has been before the relationship, before the marriage, before the kid. So nothing's gonna change that. So
And like, look at her, bro. Like, I would never lose this forever. For real. And look,
so we're good, y'all. We're
for
good.
real though. Like, for real, for
Yeah.
real.
Promise y'all.
That's it.
Now, according to the mom, so this happened on July 28th, 2023. So this last July, so almost a year ago. She, wakes up just like any other morning, according to her mom, Jamie. She started her day with a cup of coffee. She journaled every day. But at some point, she gets into an argument with Donovan. And she had asked 2 weeks before that, wanted to get a divorce. So I don't know, it sounds like from the video that we see that was dated way back, and then like the divorce video was, like I said, October 18th, 2021. And now evidently another talk of divorce. So I don't know if there'd been multiple separations. It sounds like it. But in the videos, everything looks hunky-dory. They look very happy, very lovey. But again, that's the thing about the internet. We can put on any kind of face we want. People on the other end of the lens show you just what they want you to see. So you're not always seeing the bad and the ugly. You're just seeing the good. So we don't know really what may have been going on the inside. But around 12:59 p.m., April sends Jamie, which is her mother, Jamie Dickerson, a text saying that she couldn't go with her to the Barbie movie, but she'd see her the next day at church. Because evidently Jamie, I guess, did some work with the kids at church, like school teaching, I don't know, and April was kind of getting involved in that too, and the kids really liked her. So April and Donovan got into an argument. And they didn't want, to be in front of Denzel, so they went to the bathroom, shut the door, and they're arguing. But like any curious 7-year-old, Denzel comes out, and he's, got his ear to the door, and he kind of looks underneath the door, and he can see, the feet pointing to each other as they're arguing. So he raises back up, puts his head to the ear, but he can't, ear to the door, but he can't really make out what they're saying. So he ducks back down again, and this time, he only sees his dad's feet, and mom is laid on the floor. He freaks, runs to his bedroom, as a 7-year-old would, right? Soon after Donovan comes, gets him dressed, they go about their business, and he says, hey, go to the bathroom and check on your mom. If, hypothetically, this is a murder situation, how awful to send your kid into the bathroom knowing that she's dead. Again, this is just a hypothesis. No charges have been filed, but we'll continue on. So the kid sees mom laid out on the ground with a plastic bag around her head, and she's not breathing. So they call 911. Paramedics come, take her to the hospital. She's in the ICU. Eventually showing no signs of breathing, no signs of brain activity. So on the 31st, they decide to pull her off life support and end her life. But before that, they wanted to donate her organs, which was her wish, so that she could help out someone else.
I'm making this post to make people aware of the situation that we have at hand, let people come up with their own conclusions, since many people think that my actions might be unjustified. However, this is my child, and I'm going to fight for justice for her. Her name is April Lynn Holt. On July 28th, she woke up, drank her coffee, journaled as usual, enjoying her peaceful morning, hugged and kissed her 7-year-old son, Denzel, and her husband then went into the bathroom and began to argue and fight. My 7-year-old grandson put his ear to the door and heard his parents fighting, and he looked underneath to see both of their feet. He then listened some more, but he couldn't understand what they were saying, and so he looked back under the door again, where he saw my daughter laying on the ground. He then ran to his room. His dad shortly after came into his room, and he got him dressed and he fed him. And he then had him go check on his mom. He asked him to go check on his mom, in which he unlocked the door by himself and saw his mom not breathing with a bag over her head on the ground. 911 was then called. We got to the hospital, and she had no brain function and no blood flow to her brain. We did not find out about the bag, which was not disclosed to us, for over 6 hours. In that time, her husband had went back to the apartment 2 times, not knowing I don't know what he was doing there. My daughter had requested a divorce 2 weeks prior to her death. On July 31st of 2023, my daughter was pronounced dead, and I want justice. I'm her mom, and I'm gonna get justice. Hello everyone that's been following me and supporting me in this journey of getting justice for my daughter, April Holt. Excuse the way I look. I'm not on here to look good. I'm on here to get justice for my baby. As I was sitting here just a minute ago and I'm drinking coffee my daughter was a lash tech. She owned literally lashes in Nashville and Antioch, Tennessee. And so I'm drinking out of one of her cups right now. And it just reminded me that the morning that she had passed away, that she was killed, she was just sitting there drinking coffee and journaling in her journal, just as she always did, and giving her little boy a kiss and a hug and then she had texted me. It was 12:59, and she texted me and she said, "Hey mom, I'm not gonna be able to go to the Barbie movie with you today, but I'll meet you at church tomorrow to help you teach in the middle school classroom." She was just getting into ministry with me over the last year, and the kids loved her. She had such a big heart. And so I just wanted to give you that little piece of information about her, about the morning that she died. 2 hours after the text of saying she'll see me at church the next morning, my baby was killed and gone. Again, I need justice. I need you guys, because the media is not picking it up. The press isn't picking it up until I have an autopsy, and that can take 18 weeks. Metro just continues to tell me that I'm not their only case. But my daughter is not a statistic. She's not just another number. She's a person. She's a person that had a huge heart for others, and I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight as hard as I can to get justice for her and for her children, and I'm not going to stop. And I know that so many of you guys are standing with me, and I can't thank you enough for your support. So please continue to help me seek justice for April.
The mom wanted them to do an investigation because that was very suspicious. I mean, here we've got someone who's a very popular TikToker going on about how great life is and you should appreciate and do everything to manifest what's going on, and for her to end up taking her own life. Not that it's not possible. Like I said, we only see what people want us to see. So she may have had a darker side that she wasn't portraying on her TikTok. So we don't know. But I mean, she's got 2 kids she loves. She's got this business of her own. A lot of stuff going for her. But again, that doesn't mean anything. You don't know what's in somebody else's mind. So law enforcement's pretty much telling Jamie there's nothing we can do until the autopsy comes back. Our hands are tied. They didn't really seem to think that there was much of a case to begin with, right? So in September, Jamie creates a TikTok page. Now, I mean, she's convinced there's something rotten in Denmark. So she puts up a TikTok page basically calling out Donovan, saying, you killed my baby. You know, you're guilty. And Denzel, the son, even goes on TikTok saying he felt that his dad was guilty. And this is a 7-year-old, of course. And that he thought he had something to do with it and didn't seem right. Of course, as he's saying this, he's in the car with his grandma. So you don't know if there's coaching involved or whatnot. But as a result, the court orders a gag order on Jamie, saying that she can't speak anymore about the kids or about, you know, this possibly being nefarious. So ends up going to court, and they get joint custody. So Jamie gets the kids for 4 days. Donovan gets Denzel, that is, for 3 days. It sounds like Jamie has custody of Serenity, who was from the other relationship. So this is just for Denzel. So, gag order, but she's like, oh, that's not going to stop me. I'm going to go on and I'm going to put tape over my mouth, you know, day 1, day 2, each day, just showing, hey, you're not going to silence me even though you've silenced me. And I assume that's still going on to this day. Bless her heart. So, fast forward, the autopsy finally comes back, like so many weeks later. I think it's like 16 weeks or something like that. And it's ruled suspected suicide. Okay? So they did the autopsy after the organs were removed, which of course you have to remove the organs pretty soon. You have to harvest them while the body's still alive. So I get it. But trachea, I mean, all these things are removed and examined outside of her body. So you're not getting a true autopsy is what it sounds like. There was minor blunt force trauma to the body. But they still, in the autopsy, even claim that she put the bag on the head herself, is what it's sounding like. Jamie goes on to read parts of what is in the autopsy, saying that there was a petechial hemorrhages around the bilateral cheeks. Blood vessels were red and blood vessels were red and hemorrhaging around the face. So kind of almost like it was smothered or choked, kind of. But that's just one way that can happen. In the evidence of injury, there was a lot of stuff found. There were like a puncture wound on her left arm, multiple faint purple contusions over her lower extremities, a purple contusion on her forearm, plus others that you'll hear as she talks about the autopsy.
Last Friday, I received the report that I've been waiting for over 3 months. I was extremely upset, extremely angry when I got the report. My daughter's autopsy, April Holt. And so I took the weekend in order to pray over how to give the information to other people. And just after prayer and just after thinking about it, I think the simplest way is to just read to you from the report. Yeah, people are going to base their own opinions. I mean, that's regardless of the fact. But I have nothing to hide, and all I'm doing is trying to get justice for my daughter, and even more so after I got this report. And so I just want you to listen. I have 9 points on this autopsy that I have examined thoroughly over and over and over again. And so here's how it goes. And this is the official report, just so you know. I'm not making this up. It tells you that the type of death was suspected suicide. Let me give you a little backdrop. My detective decided to take it upon himself to show up at my daughter's autopsy and give them a backstory of somebody he didn't know anything about, of somebody that he didn't even have the details on this case, because we didn't have all the details on the case until later on. So he took it upon himself to go in there. This is the Nashville Metro Police Department that went in there and told them that the type of death is a suspected suicide. As we go on in her report, they give you 4 points on here. 2 of those points that stand out as a diagnosis is that they first of all did her autopsy after removing her organs, after I gave permission to do an organ donation. They first removed her organs and then they examined them, which I find completely unethical. This is a homicide case, and now you have misconstrued the evidence that could have been what we needed. And so her autopsy was done after they took out her organs, including her lungs and her trachea and things like that, that were not examined until after they were taken out of her body. Number 4 listed on here, which is highlighted, and just in case you wanted to see, they said that my daughter had minor blunt force trauma of the body. It says that her circumstances of death, it says that, and it says it right here, this is what my detective decided to tell them, is that my daughter, descendant, secured the bag around her head. He gave them this information when there's no proof of that at all, and he decided to go in there and give them this information. When you go back down onto the bottom and it says external examination, which I had no clue that an autopsy has so many details, and so I had to go through here and kind of highlight these points. It says there are multiple petechial hemorrhages that extend across the bilateral cheeks. She had her veins, her blood vessels were red and they were hemorrhaging on her face, which is a sign of smothering or strangulation. And it says right here there are multiple hemorrhages across the bilateral cheeks, and you can look that up yourself. I've sent that to my detective, who I have asked, why is that not taken into account? And so he said he will look into it. Evidence of injury. This is the section on here that says, because I was told, my detective said, well, I didn't see any signs of struggle. So here's where it says there's a puncture wound surrounding her echomyosis within the right fossa. I'm not a medical person, so I'm just a mom. So there are 2 small purple bruises that are on the anterior aspect of her right forearm. There is a puncture wound in the left arm. There is a large purple echomyosis with a 6-centimeter abrasion that extends across the lateral aspect of her left thigh. Multiple small, faint purple contusions are on her lower extremities, on her bilateral lower extremities, showing, first of all, in the first page, it says that she had blunt force trauma. Now we're seeing that she's got bruises all over her body. And then as we go through here, this was just going on about her ribs and her clavicle bone. It says summary of case, and that's the page that I'm on. It says the summary of case. The descendant had a reported past medical history of alcohol and marijuana abuse. The detective decided to make this statement up completely on his own, never given this information. My daughter drank wine, and yes, my daughter would take a half a gummy every day of marijuana. I'm not a mom that denies or even is ashamed of what my children do. If they want to have a glass of wine and they want to take half a gummy, if that's going to help them through life, well, then go for it. But to go into an autopsy and tell them that she has a reported, where is it reported? I would love to see that. Past medical history of alcohol and marijuana abuse. There is nowhere stated in any medical record that she has this. He has made that up himself. Again, that's the Nashville Metro Police Department. And then right here, so this is the really interesting part, where they decided to say law enforcement was not suspicious of any foul play. Yeah. Went into my daughter's autopsy, who has all of these exterior elements, and says they're not even suspicious of any foul play. And then if you go on, there's another page, and it says part of the requested testing was unable to be performed, and that is because they took my daughter's organs out of her body before she had her autopsy, so they couldn't even do all of their testing. So I immediately filed this paper right here. And what this paper says is it is a request for reconsideration of suicide as a manner of death. I have written down here an explanation of how the police have decided to take it upon themselves to tell them what the definition, or what her meaning of her cause of death was. And then here is an explanation of the circumstances that surrounded what happened that day, because they didn't decide to inform the people of the autopsy that she was laying on the ground with her soon-to-be ex-husband in there with her, fighting with her before her death. They didn't decide to tell that she had this bag over her head. They said she put the bag over her head. And so I've written this little thing that I just wanted to share with you as well. And I got to read it kind of fast because I think I only have 10 minutes. So I just wrote this because I have so many thoughts going through my head right now. And it says, after receiving my daughter's autopsy report last Friday, I was extremely upset. The Nashville Metro Police Department took it upon themselves to paint a predetermined outcome and picture of not only my daughter, but the situation that surrounds my daughter's death. The Nashville Metro Police Department would not send me a copy of her report when it arrived either. I believe this was an attempt for me not to see the details surrounding their report and what they said. The detectives painted a picture of my daughter, whom they do not know, as a drug abuser, a mentally ill young woman who put a bag over her head, bruised up her own body, and committed suicide in the same home as her young son was home. In reality, my daughter, and you can ask as many people as you know that would know her, that she was a peaceful person, an encourager, a listener, loving mother, daughter, sister, niece, granddaughter. She made friends with everyone she met and was currently even helping her close friend get through his brother's suicide. She hugged and kissed her son and was journaling and drinking coffee, texting me, telling me she was going to see me at church the next morning, and then shortly after, she was no longer alive. I've submitted the forms to have the autopsy redone. I meet with the DA and my detective next week, and my detective will not answer me as to why these statements were made. My detective will not answer my questions related to the proof of struggle of her body by blunt force trauma and bruises. My detective will not answer me as to why he told them she put a bag over her head when there is no proof of that statement. I am fully aware that the Nashville Metro Police Department would love for me to shut up and file her case away in a cabinet so that it will never be seen again and like she never existed. I have a gag order. I'm not even supposed to talk about her, but I'm going to make sure that I don't talk about anything that is involving her case around her son. But I will not be quiet about the injustice that is happening right now. I will continue to fight. I will continue to seek a way to change the laws on how detectives should have no say on what the autopsy says. I have one voice, but with all of you, I have a million voices if people could pair up. So please just continue to follow this case. Go to change.org if you haven't and sign the petition. Just put in April Holt. I need your help through this case. And I thank you again for just standing alongside me and her children as we fight against the injustice.
So the case summary went into things that might be relevant but might not. Talked that she had a past history of alcohol and marijuana. I couldn't tell if she was saying abuse or just use. Well, that could be anybody, right? But law enforcement did not seem to think that there was any foul play. So no charges had been filed against Donovan Holt. They seemingly have closed the case. I read somewhere that possibly there might be an internal investigation over the detective that had originally looked into it. I don't know if that's true or not. But I mean, here's some videos of her. I mean, it's super bubbly, gorgeous. The kids are gorgeous too. Happy, inspiring, and see what you think. I don't know what will. This is, as a mom myself, if something were to happen to my daughter and I even had the slightest inkling that something might not be right, that it might not be what they've said it's to be. I'm not saying I wouldn't do the same thing she is, if not more.
I'm such a wreck. People have no idea when I say I need justice, how bad I need justice for my daughter. I sit at this graveyard. My heart hurts so bad. I just want my baby. She's under the ground and I can't reach her. I can't even speak for her because of this stupid gag order. She has no voice and I have no voice. I'm trying to get justice for her and sometimes I don't know how. I come sit here for peace, but I can't find it. I can't find peace. I just want my child back. This is where she is. With the pinwheel. Please help me get justice for her. This isn't fair. No parent should have to sit here and do this. It's not fair. It's not fair at all. I'm just praying for some peace. Please continue to pray for us.
But that is some curious instances, and it definitely makes you want to scratch your head. This does not seem like a very open and closed case. I mean, just because you happen to have an argument, I mean, moments before she kills herself with the husband and son in the other room, that doesn't seem very practical, and it doesn't seem like it would be the way I could imagine killing myself. But again, weirder things have happened. So she's having an argument with him, and they're not really taking Denzel's testimony just because they feel like a 7-year-old's testimony is unreliable, which I get that. So it's just like, she said if she could speak. If I were having an argument with somebody and they leave the room, I can't imagine wrapping a bag around my head. That seems like, and maybe people do it. I just don't know enough about methods of suicide, but I don't know that's the way I would do it. And that's a very rash thing to do, especially in light of seeing all these very positive videos that she's put out. But it could be. It could be. Who knows? I mean, in the videos, they both seem so great. You can't imagine that he'd be this monster. But if what Jamie is saying is true, and especially what she's saying Denzel, the 7-year-old at the time, was saying, you know, we don't know what kind of monsters are behind closed doors. Just like we don't know, even though she's beautiful, bubbly, great personality, so just awesome person, seemingly behind the lens, we really don't know what dark stuff could be underneath, you know? None of us really know what's going on in someone else's life. But also, even though Donovan seems like a really great, happy, carefree kind of dude, maybe he's not. Maybe that's an act. But it's definitely, there's so many more questions than definitive answers, in my opinion. I think this is definitely something that should be looked into more. I'm sure Jamie has thought about maybe getting a private investigator to look into it. But I think it should be something that should be talked about and looked into. Because domestic violence is very real and very frequent. the number of women, and males as well too, but that end up their demise at the hands of someone who's supposed to love them. It's frightening how many people it happens to every minute. I don't have the statistic in front of me, but it's frightening. It's staggering. So if you know of anyone that's struggling with domestic violence, see if you can't get them some help. If you yourself are struggling with domestic violence, here's a number below. Get help. Life is too short to be miserable and scared and unhappy. You can get out of it. It may not seem like it may not feel like it right now, but your life is just as important to everyone around you, and it should be important to you too. So get the help you can, get out of that situation, and just know that there's people out here that have your back, whether you realize it or not. So sorry if I'm rambling on a little bit, but I hope that you have found this informative. If you enjoy these videos, if you wouldn't mind, click on the subscribe button, click on the little bell to get notified. Give me a thumbs up if you like the content. I really appreciate it, and hopefully these videos can help somebody else. So thank you for watching Punk Rock Sherlock.
Hello everyone. So me and Serenity, we wanted to get on here today and give you guys a little bit of her homeschooling today, because we are actually putting her homeschooling into action in getting justice for her mom, my daughter, April Holt. And so what I've been teaching her is I'm teaching her for which we stand. And what that means is that I'm trying to teach her what her rights are. And that is so important for each one of us to know that we have a Bill of Rights, and that within this, we're talking about the First Amendment, right, Serenity?
Yeah.
And in our First Amendment, what do we have freedom of? Freedom of
speech.
So what does that mean? We get to use our words. We get to use our words. If we feel like there's an injustice, or that something is not being addressed in the way that we would want, or that we feel like that somebody needs justice, we have the right in order for us to bring up that topic and bring it to the attention of, and that's when we move on. We have the freedom of the press and freedom of assembly and freedom of petition. And I'm trying really hard to make sure that Serenity and Denzel, they both know that they have these freedoms, they have these rights. And so we, as a group, can always address, we're going to actually write a letter to the district attorney, having him be alerted onto the topic of her mother's passing. And so today, what she's learning is how we can do a peaceful protest. We're not looking for anger, or we're not looking for people to be aggressive in any way. We're looking for a peaceful protest. And that just means that we want her story. We want April Holt, hashtag justice for April Holt, heard. We want that story to be out. You can make signs. We have a sign, and today I'm going to show, and we are going to go and actually live out what that means. And so I'm going to show Serenity how we can take it to the streets. We can write these letters. And so that is so important that you share that with your children or other people in your life, that they have these rights. Don't take it for granted. You have them, and use them. Please help us support today. If you make a sign, I want you to tag me in it so that I can make sure that I'm seeing how we are going to impact this world. By April's case, this is not just a number, and she's going to be a life changer. This case is going to change lives, not just hers, but many others that we can help. We both want to say thank you. Justice for
April Holt.
Justice for April Holt. Thank you all for your love and support.
Bye.